Chevy is building an SUV that pulls to 60 faster than a Ferrari, and it might cost less than a third of what a Lamborghini charges for the same energy. Oh, and one version runs on zero gas. The Corvette C10 SUV doesn't exist yet, but everyone is terrified of the minute it releases. This is why the Corvette C10 SUV could destroy the luxury SUV market. So let's start with what this thing looks like. Most performance SUVs try to look athletic. This one looks like it was designed to dominate the road before the engine even fires up. There's a difference between those two things, and you feel it the second your eyes land on it. The hood is long, sculpted, and sits dramatically low for something this size. And those vents on it aren't there to look cool. They're functional S-ducts carried directly from race engineering, designed to force air through the body at speed and keep the front end completely planted at 180 miles per hour. In an SUV. Take a second with that. The headlights are razor-thin and technical, not decorative, giving the front a focused, almost predatory face that doesn't beg for attention. It just takes it. The side profile runs a crease that directly references the C8 Stingray, but adds the muscularity a vehicle this size actually needs to pull it off. Nothing looks bloated, nothing looks overstyled, and then you get to the rear, and that's where the concept really says what it wants to say. Quad exhaust tips, centrally mounted inside a carbon fiber diffuser. That's not a luxury SUV detail, that's a supercar detail sitting on something that seats 5 people and their luggage. The 23-inch carbon fiber wheels fill the arches with just enough visual tension to remind you this was never built to be forgettable. Even the air curtain technology inside the headlight housings is channeling airflow specifically around those wheels to cut aerodynamic drag. Every single detail on this concept has an engineering reason behind it. In a segment where most performance SUVs are honestly just muscle trucks wearing expensive suits, that level of intentionality is genuinely rare. Now here's where things get unfair for the competition. Because the design is only the opening. What's going under that hood is where the C10 stops being a concept conversation and starts being an actual threat to every luxury SUV sitting above 6 figures right now. Chevrolet isn't planning one powertrain for this thing. They're reportedly preparing 3, and each one lands harder than the last. The first is a V8 hybrid, a modified version of the Z06's 5.5-liter flat-plane crank V8, which already revs to 8,600 revolutions per minute and is genuinely considered one of the greatest naturally aspirated V8s in production anywhere on the planet right now, paired with a dual-motor electric system on the front axle. Combined projected output is 825 horsepower, but the number that matters even more than 825 is what those front electric motors actually unlock: torque vectoring. Independent real-time electric control of each front wheel separately. That means this SUV can pivot through a corner with an agility its size has absolutely no business delivering. Instant electric torque pulling you through an apex in a full-size family hauler is a deeply strange and deeply excellent experience that most of what the competition is selling simply cannot replicate at any price. Then there's the fully electric variant sitting on GM's Ultium 800-volt platform, the same architecture that underpins the Cadillac Celestiq and the GMC Hummer EV. Projected 0 to 60 is 2.4 seconds. For context, the Ferrari Purosangue, which starts above $400,000, does 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. So we're potentially talking about a Chevrolet SUV that pulls harder off the line than a Ferrari costing more than 4 times as much. Does that feel real? Because it's the projection sitting on the table right now. The sole question comes up immediately here, and it's completely fair. What happens to the Corvette identity without the combustion sound that defined it for 7 decades? Except the engineering approach being discussed isn't just pulling the engine and hoping for the best. The chassis of the electric. C10 is reportedly being designed to vibrate physically in sync with virtual gear shifts, not a speaker playing a recording back at you. The actual structure of the car responding and giving you something real to feel through your hands and your seat. Whether that fully replaces what the Z06's flat-plane V8 does to your nervous system is a debate worth having, but attempting to solve it at the chassis level rather than ignoring it entirely tells you something important about how seriously this is being taken. And then there's the ZR1X, a projected supercharged or twin-turbo variant that nobody has publicly attached an official horsepower figure to yet. If you know anything about how Chevrolet handles its most extreme performance variants historically, that silence is the most telling detail of all. When they go quiet on a number, it usually means the number sounds made up when you say it out loud. Step inside the concept cabin, and the first thing you notice is that it genuinely doesn't feel like an SUV in there. The centerpiece is a 35-inch curved OLED display spanning from the driver pillar all the way across to the center console. The wall of physical buttons from the C8 is completely gone, replaced by a haptic glass interface. Grade A Italian leather across every surface you'd actually touch. Real exposed carbon fiber, not a carbon fiber-inspired finish. Actual carbon fiber. Magnesium paddle shifters. Zero-gravity rear seating with enough legroom for a 6-foot adult to sit comfortably without making that face. For the first time in Corvette history, the people in the back aren't an inconvenient afterthought the designers quietly apologized for. The ambient lighting gives the whole cabin a late-night cruise atmosphere without tipping into that cold, over-digitalized sterility that ruins so many tech-heavy interiors right now. That specific balance is genuinely hard to land. Very few manufacturers manage it consistently. This one appears to have figured it out. The AI system being developed for the C10 is worth talking about properly because it goes well beyond what anyone in this segment is currently offering. This isn't AI as a buzzword on a brochure. It's a system designed to actually learn how you specifically drive over time, which routes you prefer, how aggressive or relaxed you want the car to feel on a Sunday morning versus a Monday commute. When the road opens up, it recommends a more engaging drive mode before you even think to ask. When you're stuck in traffic, it shifts into comfort on its own without you having to do anything. It pulls your calendar, destinations, and charging strategy into one continuous and seamless experience that just runs in the background while you drive. And then there's Super Cruise 3.0. On the highway, it handles traffic. On a track, and this is a real feature being discussed, it analyzes your racing line in real time and coaches you through it via a heads-up display so large you almost forget you're looking through a windshield. That feature does not exist in any competitor right now. Not at any price. Not even close. Now here's the part that should be making Lamborghini, Porsche, Aston Martin, and Ferrari genuinely uncomfortable every time this car comes up in conversation. The Urus starts around $240,000. The Purosangue sits north of $400,000. The Aston Martin DBX 77 lands above $200,000. The Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT, currently the closest thing to a genuinely driver-focused SUV you can actually buy, starts around $210,000. Every single one of those vehicles is built on the same fundamental idea. You are paying for performance, presence, and the name on the badge. The Corvette C10 is being projected to start between $60,000 and $80,000, top variants potentially reaching $100,000 to $25,000 at the absolute ceiling. That means 825 horsepower, a 2.4-second 0 to 60 electric variant, supercar proportions, a 35-inch OLED cockpit, and an AI system that coaches your track driving for less than a third of what the Urus costs. Is that a fair fight? It is not even close to one. European luxury brands have operated for decades on the assumption that the badge alone sustains the premium. That logic holds right up until something equally dramatic, equally fast, more technologically advanced, and a fraction of the cost shows up in the same conversation. At that point, the justification gets very uncomfortable very quickly. Now here's the honest part that needs to be said clearly. None of this is locked in yet. The Corvette C10 SUV has not been formally confirmed by General Motors or Chevrolet. No official production date, no confirmed spec sheet, no public commitment from anyone at the company. The estimates circulating in the industry right now point toward a potential arrival around late 2026 or early 2027. But even that timeline is unconfirmed. Everything here is based on concept projections, reported spec targets, and industry analysis of where Chevrolet appears to be heading with this platform. And that is honestly the wildest part of this whole story, because the concept alone, before a single production unit exists, before a single official word from Chevrolet, is already changing how people think about this segment. Buyers who were cross-shopping Urus alternatives are now watching this space. People who have never once considered Chevrolet a serious luxury contender are suddenly paying very close attention. That is an extraordinary amount of disruption from a vehicle that technically does not exist yet. And it tells you everything about how large the gap in the market actually is. Here's where that gap comes from. For 71 years, the Corvette existed as one single unapologetic idea. 2 seats, tight cabin, no rear legroom, a driver-first American sports car with zero interest in being practical and zero shame about it. So when concept images of a Corvette SUV started circulating, the enthusiast reaction was exactly what you'd expect. The forums were not kind, and honestly, fair enough. But this argument already happened twice before, and both times the people making it lost badly. When Porsche revealed the Cayenne in 2002, the purist backlash was immediate. They genuinely believed it was the beginning of the end for a brand built around the 911. Then, the Cayenne launched, became the best-selling Porsche ever made, and funded the next-generation 911S directly. The car the purists were trying to protect got better because of the SUV they hated. Then, Lamborghini launched the Urus in 2018. Before the Urus, Lamborghini was selling around 3,500 cars per year globally. After it launched, that number jumped past 8,000. The Urus now accounts for more than half of everything Lamborghini sells. More than the Huracan, more than the Aventador. An SUV became the backbone of one of the most celebrated supercar brands in history. So the idea that performance and practicality can't coexist isn't really a principled stance anymore. It's just nostalgia. And Corvette has something neither Porsche nor Lamborghini had when they made this move. A 71-year reputation for delivering maximum performance at a price that genuinely shocks people. That has been the core promise since 1953. The C10 is just that same promise in a bigger body. And if Chevrolet executes it with the same boldness that defined the mid-engine C8 in 2020, which rewrote what American performance looked like at its price point, the C10 will not just enter the luxury SUV market, it will force every brand sitting above it to defend its position in a way it never has before. If they play it safe instead, predictable tuning, numb steering, screens stacked on screens to fill empty space, the Corvette community will notice instantly, and the internet will not be gentle about it. Corvette buyers don't accept mediocrity dressed up in heritage. Neither does anyone writing a six-figure check. But based on everything pointing in this direction right now, it doesn't look like a company planning to play it safe.